I want to thank those responsible for making this gathering possible. I want to thank those who thought enough to reach out to me and to allow me to reach out to them, thus to make this again possible. I'm kind of somber right now in spirit, as well as elated at the same time. I know that sounds like a contradiction, but it's true. I'm both somber in spirit and elated at the same time. And I know I do not have long to present my message, to deliver my message unto thine ears. But I want to start off with saying that because what is in me will come out of me, whether I speak on it or not. So for once, as I've been spoken twice, told that it may be heard, I am both somber in spirit as well as elated in my soul. Again, I thank those responsible for allowing this opportunity to happen, because wherever I go, I always try to make it a point that being allowed to invade anyone's space is a privilege, a blessing, and vice versa. Allowing anyone else to invade your space, my space, is a privilege just as much, because you have thought enough of that vessel, that voice, that person to invade your space, and vice versa. I'm so privileged to have the opportunity to stand here in the District of Columbia. I'm sorry, I'm normally very hype, energetic. I'm normally very heightened in spirit. I'm normally very active with my delivery, with my speaking, with my sword. Yes, my sword. After all, we are here in the District of Columbia. We are here in Washington, D.C. Meaning there were a lot of swords that were wielded to conquer various types of oppression, to fight against freedom, to fight for freedom. So, but I come to bring a different sword. And that different sword, no matter how somber I may be in spirit as well as elated in spirit, I come to bear a sword, a word. You see, in this great city of Washington, D.C., there's a lot of history here. History you can't ignore, because just about every corner you turn, everywhere you look, you see historical buildings. You see great edifices that just stand out in such a way that their age is telling of the history, the fight, the many battles that have taken place to win the freedoms in this particular country. But this city is our nation's capital, so to be here and to absorb all of the past events that have made this city, this capital, this nation possible, it creates a somberness, but it also creates an elation in my spirit. So this word that I come this particular morning, I will be quick as a sword yields and wields itself and quickens those of us to which it touches. I will be quick with this one. I appreciate the time that you all have allowed, and I hope that your listening ears are ready to receive, as well as my open mouth is ready to deliver. Here in, again, the city of D.C., District of Columbia, there's a lot of history here. There's a lot of cultural diversity here, and I've been blessed and fortunate to be here this morning to express the things that I've not only experienced in life, but since being here in D.C., the things I've experienced thereof, the things I've seen thereof, therefore the things that I've learned, therefore, throughout history. And I had to stop for a moment when I was thinking of how can I deliver this message to such a great audience that have allowed me to invade their space. This message, it will probably tickle some ears. It will probably disturb some ears. It will ruffle some feathers, as I once heard an old farmer say when he was giving a message to a particular group that he was asked to speak to. He noticed that the majority of the audience was becoming uncomfortable. He could see the people moving. He could hear the shattering of bodies, clothing. When you move a lot, your clothes tend to make a lot of noise. If you're in the chairs, you could hear the chairs squeaking and all these distractions. And he stopped and he paused briefly because he recognized it. And he stopped and he noticed the faces of those that appeared to be disgruntled. He noticed that they were not as in tune. They were looking around. They were looking intently at this particular farmer that was speaking, almost to try to shun him from what he needed and felt the need to say. You know how you would give a look to someone, and that look. I know when I was a kid, my mother she would sometimes give us a look, whether we were in church, whether we were in a public place. She would just give us a look, and that look told the story of what would happen if you did not cease, or what would happen if you did not start, and definitely what would happen if you did not heed the unspoken words. So this farmer, continued to deliver. Then he paused, and he said, "I can tell some of y'all are really uncomfortable with what I'm saying." And it's amazing when he said that, the audience, they kind of, they kind of postured themselves differently, as if to say, okay, finally he's gotten the message of our unspoken words, of our unspoken demands that you need to move on and stop talking about this. And then so they started to become comfortable, and he saw their posture changed, and that it lit him up even the more. So when he saw that their disposition changed, he said, "I know I'm making you all uncomfortable, and I know this is not the message you probably thought that your ears were going to hear." And so they were like, "Yes, finally, he's going to move on to something else, because I did not come for this." And he says, "But I'm so sorry." And when he said he was so sorry, they lit up even the more, like, "Oh, thank you." And their faces revealed, that his apology was accepted, But little did they know what he was sorry for, okay? He said, "I'm so sorry that you all came here to hear a message that you were not expecting to hear." He said, "But then I also, am sorry that I'm not, sharpening your ears even the more, because when the truth comes, it's supposed to make you uncomfortable." And boy, you should have saw the audience. They started to kind of shift and move around even the more. Like, so what he was saying was, yes, the truth, it makes you uncomfortable. It's supposed to. It's supposed to. And so he was apologizing that he was not quickening his sword, his word, even the more. And boy, they just became even more restless. He said, but that's what the word, the truth, this sword is supposed to do. It's supposed to ruffle feathers. It's supposed to cause you to shift around, move around in your seats, in your minds, in your hearts. And afterwards, they thought he was, going to, end his message. No. He continued. And my whole point is this: is when you know that there's a ruffling of feathers because someone is proclaiming the truth, or you know the truth. Maybe you're fighting with the truth within yourself while certain lies are trying to invade. There's a division. There's a division. There's a divide. And here in this city of DC, there's still a lot of division. There's a divide. And as I was actually walking just the other day, of course I've been to DC before, have seen a lot of the sites, the monuments, the memorials. I walked past the Ford's Theater. I visited, of course, Lincoln's Memorial. And to my amazement, I was reminded, and it came to my memory, that half the battle is believing. Half the battle is believing. Do you all know who that was spoken from? Some of you historians, some of you scholars probably know who that was spoken from. It was spoken from one of the individuals I just mentioned, the Lincoln Memorial, which means that this particular quote came from President Abraham Lincoln. Half the battle is believing. Focus on that word half, and then focus on the word believing. So as I passed by the Ford's Theater, And as I had previously visited the Lincoln Memorial, I was reminded, just as that farmer was giving a speech to his audience, and his audience became unraveled. They became uncomfortable, yet he proceeded. Okay, I started to think about President Abraham Lincoln, who gave a speech back in the 1800s to the House. Keep in mind, a house divided cannot stand. Keep in mind, a house divided cannot stand. That's Bible. That's word. That's sword. And this great man, this president, this man of faith, that's what he proposed to the House back in the 1800s. A house divided cannot stand. And he continued, a house divided against itself cannot stand, which is Bible, which is word, which is biblical, which is God, which is his ordinance. And he went on to say that he believed that the government at that particular time cannot endure permanently. Listen to the word that I initially spoke. Permanently half slave and half free. Let me go back again to what this great president once said. Half the battle is believing. So I'll go back again to say what he started his speech off with back in the 1800s. A house divided against itself cannot stand. And went on to say that this government cannot endure permanently half slave and half free. You see, there was division, there was derision amongst the country, amongst the House. And so he proceeded in this particular speech that he gave to the House, saying that he did not expect the Union to be dissolved, nor did he expect the House to fall. But he said that he did expect that it will cease to be divided and that it would become all one thing or all the other. Hear the words that are being spoken here. You all have gathered to hear this message for a purpose, for a reason. And I just pray that the one who is able to endow any of us with his power to speak, such as he did even with this great man back in the 1800s, he endowed his voice, his mouth, to speak a word to those listening ears and to those deafened ears. We can all be empowered because the good book, I think it's Proverbs 23, says, don't waste your breath on fools, for they will despise the wisest advice, the wisest counsel. Oh, but this great man decided that he was going to speak because he knew there were listening ears and he knew that there were those that were convicted. Remember, a house divided against itself cannot stand, just like half the battle is believing. What is half your battle? What are you willing to stand on and stand for in spite of? What if your beliefs cost you something dear? I want you to see the parallels. Everything that I am saying is associated with both you, I, and this great man, this President Abraham Lincoln. What if your beliefs cost you something dear? You see, his beliefs cost him something dear, which we know ended in death, in assassination. But prior to that, this particular speech cost him the presidency, if I'm not mistaken. So what if your beliefs cost you something dear? This nation was built on people's leaders, civilians' beliefs, believing that they needed and they chose and they were willing to fight no matter the cost to be free. George Washington lost 2/3 of the battles, yet he won the war with his leadership ability. That included espionage, guerrilla warfare, all these tactics. 2/3 of the battles were lost, yet he believed enough, and those who followed him believed enough that the Revolutionary War would be won, and the war was won. Even though those beliefs cost them something, they gained something in those beliefs. Again, losing 2/3 of the battle. I can go back to Lincoln. Lincoln in his life, you all are familiar with a lot of the things that he just had. Oh my goodness, all the things that he had to overcome. The loss of one of his sweethearts, lost the losing of his businesses that he attempted to start. He had a nervous breakdown, so forth and so on. Children, I think it was his son who had succumbed to some type of a debilitating disease or illness. Just one thing after the other, but yet he still believed. He still believed. So what if your beliefs cost you something dear? Would you believe in it then? Would you still believe? It's amazing to me how we tend to think that a belief can just be turned off and turned on. In my opinion, okay, this is my opinion. If a belief can be turned on and off at the slightest whim or at the slightest influence or at the slightest sign of fear, it may not have been what you believed. You may have thought you believed it. When you can actually proclaim, with all sincerity, with strength, with faith, that particular thing that you believe, doesn't matter if it goes with the grain or against the grain, if it goes with the flow of cultural thinking or against the flow of cultural thinking. If you believe in that particular thing, then that means when that thing is tested, when it is tried, it'll determine if you truly believe what you thought you believed, because it's going to cost you something. I didn't say going with the flow. Going with the flow is easy. Oh, that's easy. We all can go with the flow. We all, I believe, at some point or another, have gone with the flow out of fear, out of comfort or discomfort, out of not feeling left out. We've all, I think, in one way, shape, form, or another, have gone against the very thing that we believed because we knew it would cost us something. So we had to go back, and I know me, I had to go back and ask myself, did you really believe what you said you believed? Because you didn't stand on that belief when an outcome, a consequence to your belief was standing right there in front of you saying, now what? Do you believe in what you say that you believed in? It's going to always be tested. Just like your faith. Your faith is going to always be tested. As soon as you say you have faith, the enemy is going to come and he's going to send his henchmen. He's going to send his henchmen to test that, to disturb that to which you say you believe, to test that faith you say that you have, that faith in which you have in whom that particular faith you have in. He's going to test it. So a house divided cannot stand, and believing is half the battle. Half the battle. And for this reason, Satan's henchmen have been, will be dispatched to attack that to which you believe, proclaim you believe. And so Lincoln believed that a house divided cannot stand because that was Bible, that was word. He also believed that a very mindset, a belief that is not whole is at odds or opposition with itself. Therefore, it too is divided. This particular house, this country, and this country is still divided. Political lines, moral lines, lines of principle. This country is still divided. But my whole point is, what are you going to stand on, even if it costs you something dear, that particular thing to which you believe? And would you still believe it if you knew it would cost you? There have been many martyrs over the eons of history that believed in something and died for that something, which means that they believed not only in that particular thing, but were willing to die for that particular thing because they couldn't turn that switch of what they believed in off, even when it cost them. You can't turn a switch off. Well, we can, but if you turn a switch off, then you may have to question, man, was I willing? Was I really willing to take this belief with me to a loss of job, to a job loss? Because I know if I speak out on this thing, I can lose my job. And I'm not saying that people don't have mouths to feed. You all know that we're living in some turbulent times. You have the haves and the have-nots. And so the haves, a lot of the times, will not speak against certain things that they may feel the need to speak on because of fear of what they may lose. But they believe in these things. So do they truly believe in these things enough to stand on these things, even if it costs them? And if they don't stand on those things, if you don't stand on those things, if I don't stand on those things to which would cost you, then do we really believe? Or, let me add to this, because you can still believe and still falter. We all have weak moments. But are you willing to succumb to the coincidences, the struggles, the loss of that particular thing that you believe, when all you have to do is just turn the switch off. The switch of belief off. It's like love almost. If you can turn the switch of love off with people, or with your significant other, with your family, with your friends, boyfriend, girlfriends, with your God even. If you can just turn the switch off and say, no, I don't love you anymore. Now I hate you. Just like that. Now, emotions can cause us to say a lot of things. I've been there on the giving and receiving end. But what I'm saying is, if deep down you literally have no more feelings, you literally cut a switch off to where you do not love that person anymore. You do not love this thing anymore. You may have to question, was that even sincerely, genuinely love? Beliefs go hand in hand with that to which we love, when you think about it. Lincoln loved the fact that God's book was to be honored, was to be followed, and you could live off of those and on those and by those convictions, or you can just turn the switch on and off when it's convenient. That's not genuine belief. That's not genuine love for anything, whether it's for philosophy, whether it's for an accomplished endeavor that you are pursuing. There's a belief system. There's something that you cannot turn a switch on and off to. If you're able to turn that switch on and off, you may want to question that particular thing that you thought you had. Or maybe that thing that you do have, but you do not have the boldness to stand for that particular thing. So I have to be careful with how I word this, because I don't want you all thinking that if you changed your mind about something, that means that you were not, genuinely in the belief of a particular something that you thought you believed in. You could have believed in it, make no mistake, but you were just unwilling to lose or to die for that particular thing. When I say die, I know that many times there are physical deaths that a lot of our great leaders have succumbed to. Dr. Martin Luther King, the late, great Dr. Martin Luther King, Abraham Lincoln, of course. These are individuals that I mentioned because, of course, you have, MLK's monument, memorial. And so I'm also reminded of this great man who also believed and also suffered and then also died because he stood by what he believed in. And if you remember, that great man, Dr. Martin Luther King, said, I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality. This is why temporarily defeated is stronger than evil triumphant. Let me say that again. Let me utter that again. For once has it been spoken, twice told that it may be heard. The late great Dr. Martin Luther King said, I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality. This is why, right? Temporarily defeated is stronger than evil triumphant. Again, I believe is what he uttered, and that belief cost him something. It cost him something dear. Not just his life, but even before his life. I mean, his peace, I can only imagine. The security of his family. All these things were costing him. Yet he still believed. And I'm sorry if my words are kind of, jumbled up right now. It's so many thoughts that are going through my mind as I present this message to you all. But I hope that you're still able to decipher and remove all the clutter that I'm bombarding your ears with, to hear clearly and concisely that which I am trying to iterate and reiterate. Your beliefs, our beliefs. Half the battle is believing. Half the battle is believing. The other half we're not going to discuss right now, because half the battle is believing. When you believe in something, you accept something is true. But if you're able to turn that switch off to that which you accept as truth or accept as false, then there was not a deep anchoring of that belief. It was surface level. Why do you think we talk about the greats? Many of the greats believed unto death. Many of the greats believed unto imprisonment. They believed enough that they were willing to suffer the cost. They were willing to suffer the loss. It's amazing to me. So a house divided against itself cannot stand. Even Lincoln's friends regarded his particular speech at that time, back in the 1800s, as too radical for the occasion. Keep in mind that word radical, because when you're standing on principle, when you're standing on that to which you believe, and it's going against the flow of culture, ideologies, make no mistake, it too will be regarded as too radical. Just blend in, just follow the flow. No. Those who are convicted, those who are brought here for a purpose, to stand on that to which they believe, are the ones we still speak on and speak of. I don't know too many that did not stand on that to which they believe. They switched back and forth and back over the years. No, we kind of forget about them real quick because you didn't give us anything to remember. You flow whichever the way the tide flowed, the way the wind blew. That's the way that you actually flow, the direction that you went in. So you are not in anything worth speaking on and speaking of. But these individuals that I've mentioned are. So even though Lincoln's friends regarded this speech as too radical for the occasion, he had one of his closest advisors and partners was really upset at this particular speech because he knew it was going to cost him the presidency. And in his anger and frustrations, of course, he approached Lincoln and had some words for him and was pretty much angry. He was angered by this and angry at Lincoln. And and so Lincoln, being a man who was standing on principle, standing on the word, standing on truth, standing on his belief system, and what he felt the need to express, to proclaim, said, "I am not the author